What's up, beautiful people? Welcome to the Dr. Joy Show, your prescription for total wellness, and I'm your host, Dr. Joy. Interesting topic today from a guest that has flown all the way in from the West Coast. That's right, California. That's West Coast. All the way here to be on my show to talk about babies, surrogacy, egg donation. You want to hear about this. It's her passion. But before we get started, you know what we do on the Dr. Joy Show? We take it down with 3 deep breaths. Are you ready? Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Last one. Inhale. Exhale. How do you feel? I know I feel great. I want to welcome Kathyrn Kaycoff to the Dr. Joy Show. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Tell me a little bit about you.
Well, I live in Los Angeles, originally from the East Coast in New Jersey, and I went out there to be a television producer, which I was, and got married a little later in life. And when my then husband and I started to try to conceive, I was unable to. So we went and we talked to a doctor who said, you might want to try a few things. So we tried IVF, and that didn't. And then I eventually got pregnant twice and miscarried triplets, and then I miscarried twins. And it's for anyone that's been through that, it's a horrible, devastating experience.
I'm so sorry.
But you know what? But it has, as you will hear, it has a flip side, because you take your negative experience and you try and turn it into something positive. And for myself, it was 4 years of miscarriages and trying, and the doctor eventually recommended trying a surrogate. And surrogate did not get pregnant, and then the doctor said, maybe you want to try with an egg donor, because at this point I was almost 44 years old.
Okay.
And we said, you know what? I just want to be a mom. It stops mattering. Being a mom is not the 9 months you carry a baby, so when you use a surrogate, and it's not having a biological connection either. It's what happens when you bring the baby home. And that's what I focused on. So we used a surrogate and an egg donor. I was blessed with 2 boys, identical twins.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
They are now 13. And I started to help people. And at first it was, I was working, I had the kids. It was something that I was doing on the side. And I realized, you know what, the television producing no longer held the same allure for me.
Okay.
And as I say to people sometimes, and I turned it, I used to produce babies. I used to produce TV, and now I produce babies, and it's so much more rewarding.
So wait a minute. Television, you were in television production.
Right.
And because of the fact that you tried to get pregnant and couldn't,
yes,
right, you now are helping people have babies and become moms and parents, I should say.
Yes, because we work with all kinds of people.
So what is your company?
It's called Agency for Surrogacy Solutions. We help people find surrogates, and we manage the whole entire process. We also have egg donors also, and we find the egg donors, and if you select one of ours, we oversee that process also.
So this is a two-prong show. Surrogacy and egg donor, right? So with the surrogacy, how long is the process from beginning to end?
If somebody, there's the surrogates process, and then there's what we call them intended parents,
right?
Because the intent is that they're the parents. So if you were to call me and we would talk, and I would probably speak for a few hours and tell you the whole process, or an hour, depends how many questions you have, and then you would decide that you wanted to work with us, and you would sign with our agency, depending upon your specifications and your situation. So if you are a heterosexual, legally married couple, as opposed to common law, using your own genetics, meaning the man's sperm and the woman's egg, you have a certain states where the laws are good for you.
Okay.
But if you are a same-sex couple, you are using an egg donor. Some of those states will be good, but you may not be able to do it. So each state has their own laws. 50% of our clients are also from overseas, from all over the world.
Really?
Because the United States has the best laws. There are a few other countries that have good laws, but the medical services here are not, they're unsurpassed from any other country. And the quality of the women. These women are not people, not to, put down any other country that allows surrogates to do this. But in India, the women, they really were poor, and
Right.
this was really a life-sustaining job that they did. In the United States, it comes from the heart.
Right.
The women, first of all, we do not accept anybody on government assistance.
So how do you find the women?
Well, in a way, there's so many ways we find them, and I don't want to give away trade secrets.
Well, no,
no, but I'll tell
how
you.
About
I'm kidding. I'm
how
telling
about
you.
one or two ways, or one way that you find?
Well, the first thing is the internet. This is where everybody is. Somebody says to themselves,
but you got to be careful.
Well, no,
with
but
the internet.
But they find us. Is what I'm
Okay,
saying.
okay.
So a woman says to herself, she sees a TV show, maybe this one,
Yeah.
maybe another, and says, "Oh, I would love to do that. I love being pregnant." But then she says, "Oh, could I give my baby not a biological child, because we do not." Well, I'll go back. There's two types of surrogacy. There is one called traditional, which was in the Bible, where it's a man's sperm and a woman's egg with the intent that the woman is going to be impregnated, but the baby's not going to be hers. That's traditional.
Okay.
And you can do that in the United States. There are contracts for that, but we don't do that. The one we do is where the carrier has no biological connection. And she's called a gestational surrogate, because to gestate is to kind of, grow it. So she grows it, and I don't, it's not a womb for hire, because people say that, but it's, again, she's babysitting that baby.
Right.
So if you were to babysit a friend's baby, you would carry it and do everything you could, or if it was a real baby, you would feed it and hug it, and if it fell down, you put a Band-Aid on, and when the parents came, you would go, yours. You never think you want to keep it. So the woman has to know. And most women say, I couldn't do that.
And they're single women, I presume, right?
No.
Some are married?
50% are married, and 50%, as long as they have a good support system, we're good. And their husbands or partners understand this is a calling for these women.
So what's the age range?
We will not accept anyone under the age of 21. But even if you're 21, you have to be pretty mature.
Right.
That said, if you were a young mother at 18, you grow up pretty fast. So a lot of the women that call us at 21 are mature, but we really have to make sure. So 21 to 40 is the range. We have women that are over 40 too. But in general, you are not required to be done building your family. But most of the surrogates are, because complications can arise.
Right.
Every time you're pregnant, there's always a risk, no matter what. So but you're not required to be done, and we can't force you. Some women think they're done, do maybe 2 surrogacies, and say, the next pregnancy, I want that baby.
So let's go back.
Okay.
Process. No, that's okay. Process. So these women, there's 2 types, right? We're not going to talk about egg donor until later.
Right.
But there's the surrogate who finds you. Right. You screen them. How are they screened?
Well, I'm, as somebody that went through this process as what I call intended parent, because that's how I had my children, I know what you're looking for. And also, as an agency owner, I'm looking for the same things. I don't want someone that's problematic. I don't want someone that's just doing this for the money, because it will never be enough. There's no number you can put on this.
So you're going to go outside of the state of California, I presume?
Not every state. New Jersey, New York, there are a variety of states where the laws aren't good. But we know, and each state has different laws, and we check specifically. So, so they can be from a variety of states. They have to be in the United States. We do not work with surrogates that want to fly in from another country. Again, I can't screen them. I don't know what their real motivation is.
Right.
Here, I don't want them to be coerced or anything. And as I said, the women that come to us, when they find us mostly on the internet. And they've sort of self-screened in the sense that there's a lot of research that's been done usually, but we still go through the whole process with them. So I want what you want. I want somebody that's healthy, that has good, and healthy, again, big range, and what I eat may not be what my friend eats, may not be what my boyfriend eats. It's like, but healthy has a range.
Right.
And weight too. The BMI is determined by the doctor that the intended parents choose. So usually the top range for BMI is somewhere between 31 and 35, depending on the clinic. Okay. So we are not judging you by your weight. Somebody emailed me yesterday, how dare you say that, I have to be a certain age and a certain weight. And
Well,
I'm
you
like,
want the surrogate to be happy, healthy prior to, the pregnancy,
yes,
and then to actually be able to sustain through the pregnancy, because the end goal is for them to have a baby.
exactly,
Right?
and for them to be healthy too.
Yes.
I don't want to risk them in their health in any way.
So you
come
do an
first.
assessment process.
We do an assessment, background check.
Okay.
They have to have a good support system because, and the funny thing is, so you said, most people say, oh, the surrogates must be married. And you said, oh, they must be single. But sometimes I get people that call and say, oh, I don't want a single. And I'm like, why not? Well, she doesn't have a good support system. I say, the funny thing is single women usually have better ones because they have multiple layers.
Yeah.
They live near their mother and their sister. But if the sister's not available, their friend or their
friend,
church or their, there
absolutely.
are all kinds of things. And a lot of time, not that married women don't have good support systems, but many of them say, well, I have my husband. And so I'm like, well, if he's not there, then who?
Exactly.
And usually they are there, but single women have that multi-layer.
All right, so take me through the process just a little bit. You found, so there are women on the internet that want to become surrogates. Right. You pick one, and do you match them with a family?
Well, again, so, and women do come to us other ways. That's just one way they come to us. But, so I will have usually a waiting list. My waiting list for intended parents is anywhere from 1 month to 4 months. This may sound long, but most good, reputable agencies, many of them have a year wait. And I do not know why we are shorter. I am always trying to figure out, why is our agency such a short list for, 1 month to 4 months? And other agencies will say, well, do you do background checks? And I'm like, yes. And well, they're always trying to catch us. And I'm like, I do everything that all the other good agencies do.
Well, maybe you just have a smarter team. How about that?
I actually think that we do.
Maybe you just have a smarter team.
I'd like to think so.
Yeah, that's the reason.
So, so a parent would come to us and the surrogate, and they each have qualifications. Sometimes I have to educate the intended parents because they think that it's just health. I just want a healthy womb, and I'm like, well, no, she picks you as much as you pick her,
right?
Because this is so the intended parents. It's going to hopefully be a beautiful journey, and they go home with the prize. They get a baby.
Do the intended parents and the surrogate, they're in constant contact?
I don't know about constant. I mean, how many people are you in constant contact with? But yes, ongoing contact.
Ongoing, yeah.
So yes, we encourage that because it's a relationship. So the surrogate, to her, the journey this is one of the biggest things she'll ever do in her life. So she also has a fantasy of who these people are, right?
Right.
So, but both parties may be very general. She might say, I don't care how much communication, or I do. Some people are more independent, some people are less. Everybody has to be a good communicator when necessary. Most people will talk to their surrogates a minimum of once a month.
Okay.
But many end up texting every day. I mean, each person, I think it finds its level, depending on the personalities, the surrogates have children. They're not just sitting around waiting on for a Skype call or a phone call or a text. They're living their lives. The intended parents are living their lives.
So, I got to ask this question. Because they put it in the movies. When the bow breaks, there was a movie that was out last, I think with Morris Chestnut, and I forgot his wife. But regardless, I have to say it. That was scary when it came to surrogacy, because the lady that was the surrogate, or the woman that was the surrogate, she actually now wanted to keep the baby. She went crazy. She wanted to keep the baby. So how does your organization prevent surrogates from changing their mind at the end?
Well, a couple things. First of all, I mean, that's a very common question and common fear. As I said, every person that becomes a surrogate, the first question she asks after she thinks, I love being pregnant, is, could I keep the baby? Could I give the baby back after 9 months? And we do psychological screenings and all that. But the other thing is, the laws of the state where she gives birth are what guide the contract. And that's why we have to make sure that where she gives birth, so we don't match people in states. When you hear these stories on the news that, there are thousands of successful journeys, and then there's one bad one, and that'll end up on the news, okay?
Right.
But all the ones that go beautifully, people don't talk about. Well, I do, but most people don't. So we make sure that she's in a state where the contract will be upheld. So were she to change her mind, the states would not recognize her as the mother. And when you hear these stories gone awry, it's usually because people didn't use an agency. They downloaded a contract off the internet to save money. They do it in a state where the contract will not be upheld. But if you work with somebody reputable, there's
Right.
a lot of moving pieces in this journey. For
Right.
me, I've been doing it 14 years. No big journey.
Oh,
No,
you have
no
a
big deal.
lot of experience.
Yes.
So now talking about the money, because you did say that word.
Okay.
All right. So the surrogate. Now I'm going to ask, right? The surrogate would receive a fee. Your organization receives a fee. Your agency, but the intended parent is the one that pays, right?
They pay for everything.
Okay. So how much are we talking about?
It varies, of course, and
Oof.
it's not like I'm trying to be vague.
No,
but
no,
there's
a
so
range.
many variables.
A range.
So if you are creating your own embryos with your own egg and sperm, you are looking total journey, and this is everything. This is your lawyer, this is the agency, this is your surrogate, this is the insurance, this is the medical, this is psychologist, this is you name it, monthly allowance. There's all kinds of things that go into it. So you're probably at the bottom 80,000. That's the bottom. I know it's a lot. This is not for the faint of heart. And the top, again, using your own eggs, is probably 120. So
okay,
80
so
to 120.
80 to 120,000.
And if you throw an egg donor in there, you're going to add in at least another 20,000 to, I mean, some people, egg donors vary in cost a lot. So it could be 20 to 40, maybe 1,000, 50, depends.
So who are the people that need a surrogate to help them?
They range. I do have celebrity clients, but they are not all celebrity. But I always say, I always treat everyone like a celebrity.
Oh, that's good.
I really do.
Well, we're all celebrities. We all
are
famous.
absolutely.
Hello, we're all queens too. Women, we're all queens.
And the men too.
And we have
a lot of same-sex couples, and everybody's
kings and queens.
This is one of the biggest thing anybody's going to be doing. So. Who are they? As I said, they range. Same with the surrogates. Surrogates are not.
So you have a special type?
I don't. There's, we get teachers. We have people that have saved, for years for this journey. Women that say we're born without a uterus, so they knew they were always going to need this. Or somebody that had cancer, or a same-sex couple. That's, they could adopt. Everybody could, but that's fraught with its own ups and downs and finances also. So. Many people go this route. So there's all kinds. People save, people borrow against their home. That's what I did when my then husband and I did this. What else? People's relatives could help. I mean, there's all kinds of things.
GoFundMe.
Yes. No, we have, actually I have a client. She had breast cancer and that went to her brain, but now all's good. She made a documentary just to give inspiration to people. I'll hook you up with her.
Good.
To inspire people that anybody can do this. So, and again, there are some institutions that may lend money. The clinics will work with you. There are ways to kind of keep it down, but not much. I mean, you're talking maybe save another 10, which is a huge amount.
So you still have to come up with a base of 70.
At least a minimum. Yeah. So, and it's probably more than that. But so people from all walks of life. And the same thing with the surrogate. Sometimes people say,
how much does a surrogate get?
Whoa, so
typically
she would get, it depends. So there's something called her base fee. That's just for the act of being pregnant, and it's for pain and suffering. So it's
you got that right.
So she, so it's not for delivering a healthy baby. So if she were to miscarry at 4 months, she keeps everything that she has received at that point because she had pain and suffering. And you cannot really alter those contracts. You can, but it's again the fairness of what the spirit of the contract is: pain and suffering. So. Depending which state she lives in, depending on her insurance, there's a lot of things. But the bottom number is probably 22,000 for a first-time surrogate. Okay. And for California is a very popular state. First-time surrogates can be getting 35,000, maybe even 40 sometimes. And then as a repeat surrogate, you can you set your own fee. I had somebody call and say, I want 100,000. I said, you are so worth it, but you know what? There's someone's going to do it for 35. 100,000 is a little up there, but we've had a 3-time experienced surrogate in California. She is receiving 60,000, but she also gets, lost wages. There are other things. It's not just that amount. You get a monthly allowance of usually 200. You get maternity clothing.
I was going to ask.
You get all your
insurance and all the health care that goes along with
everything.
It.
A surrogate should never be out money, and that's not. I don't mean that like she might not have to, put out $20 to get something that's not covered by her monthly allowance. She needs a receipt. But this should not cost her. She's doing a beautiful service for somebody. This is not an expense for her. This is everything comes to her. This is beautiful.
So 80 to 120,000 surrogate and intended parents. Now let's flip it to egg donor.
So
who, how, when, what? All of those questions.
Exactly. So who? Age 21 to 30. It is, the truth is people are looking, they talk about these designer egg donors. Yes, they're out there, but people are looking for, they're looking for somebody.
What is a designer egg donor?
Oh, somebody like a model who went to Princeton. And hey,
okay.
and if they're out there.
So you just check it off. Okay, gotcha.
But they're creating stuff. But most people are trying to find somebody that fits in their family. Yes, do you want someone attractive? Is there an element? Yes. Maybe I have some kind of, maybe I have early breast cancer in my family. Well, I don't want an egg donor with that. So you really try and screen somebody that, and everyone has something in their family. Your grandparents or great-grandparents, everybody dies of something. But it's like, but again, did your grandfather die of a heart attack at 85 or 50? If it's 50, they're not interested.
Is it self-assessment?
Yes.
Okay, so
there's honesty.
I was going to say integrity plays a big role in this.
In this whole world. But I find that people have integrity. It's very rare that somebody isn't what they say. There are DNA tests that can be run, and some people do them. So it will not show up things, I don't believe, like, addictive personality or things like that. But there are certain things that you can uncover.
So who wants an egg donor?
So, usually, again, if you're a same-sex male couple, I always say they are not infertile. They are just fertility challenged.
Right.
But women, again, some women are born without reproductive organs.
Yeah.
Some women have had cancer.
Mm-hmm.
When you start reaching 40, your egg quality goes down. And it does not matter how fabulous you look, how young you are, how much you exercise.
That's just life.
That's just life.
Mm-hmm.
And so many women have multiple miscarriages. They try. Look, who doesn't want to have their own biological child? We are. It's ingrained in our DNA that we reproduce. But if you can't, this is amazing. The women that do this are really doing such a service out there, because these are people, for surrogacy too, really want to be parents.
So are you looking for egg donors right now?
All the time.
All
Absolutely.
the time. All right, so age range for the egg donor?
21 to 30.
Mm-hmm.
Good family health history. Again, this does not mean perfection. It just means, if your father dropped dead of a heart attack at 50, it's going to be very hard if you have severe mental illness, things like that.
Absolutely.
But attractive. That's a big range. What everybody thinks is attractive.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right?
Yes, exactly.
So how do you determine that?
Well, one of the things that we do is we want to have good pictures. It's funny. Sometimes when on Facebook people say, "Oh my gosh, you always look great."
Kathyrn,
and I always like, I don't
see
put
my eye with the photos, because I've heard some horror stories on, like, with people doing Match.com. They put a picture from like 20 years ago, and then when they actually meet them, they're like old as Methuselah. It's so funny. So you want to, I guess, verify, right?
We do. We Skype with them.
You Skype with them.
We do a Skype call. We sometimes ask them. We sometimes send them to a photographer to get. People don't know how to do photos of themselves, and so it's not that they're not attractive, right? They just don't know that a little good light, a better shirt that rather than the schlumpy big top. It's like, you got a cute figure.
Mm-hmm.
Go put
Let's
some
show it
off.
Yeah. Show it off. What are you doing?
Not slutty, just attractive.
Right.
So, and then sometimes they do send kind of those pictures where it's like they're out for a hot night. I'm like, maybe not that picture.
Maybe not that one. Do the intended parents meet the egg donor?
That is a case by case. So many egg donors want to be anonymous, but anonymous doesn't mean anonymous in the way that you normally think of it.
Right.
It means that the contact information isn't shared. So we can arrange a Skype call, but the truth is not everybody wants that. I know for myself, when I picked an egg donor, I didn't want to meet her because I thought, I'm afraid I'm going to find flaws,
Mm-hmm.
and
that's being human.
That's exactly it. And then I thought, if my child, giggles the way she giggles, I'm always going to think of her. Right. But I will tell you now, on the other side, my children are 13. I wouldn't feel that way. I know I'm the mom. I'm secure.
Did you meet the egg donor?
I didn't, but I have a very full profile of her with her health history. I have a lot of information. My children have asked to see it. I've told my children from the day they were
I was
born.
going to ask that next.
Not everybody, I think it's, so for me, I think it was the right thing to do.
Good.
And I would encourage other people because my children know their story.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say to them, you know, and it's the truth, don't you think we belong together? And they're like, of course we do. And I do, which is why I encourage people to find an egg donor that fits with them and their family.
So 21 to 30, healthy. And what is their compensation?
That ranges too. And again, you know, every egg is equal, okay? Nobody's egg is better than the other, but people put value on them. So if you go to a better college, if you are, you know, incredibly attractive, those things can command.
Or athletic.
If you have some exceptional ability, music, whatever, these things do, you know, command a little higher.
Right.
So a first-time egg donor can range from $4,000, but the general is 7 to 8 for a first-time egg donor, or 7 to 10. After that, again, you could get, the next donation could be 15, could be 20. But we have a huge number of Chinese clients, and they really, the market for intelligent, beautiful Asian donors has become very hot. They're getting $20,000 for their first donation.
So what is the process? If we could just talk a little bit about that, because then I need to wrap it up.
Okay. Well, one thing I always want to say is people are like, I don't want to give up my fertility. Unlike when you and I were growing up and we said 1 month, every month an egg develops and comes down the fallopian tube, blah, blah, blah. That is not what happens. In your ovaries, every month, depending on your ovaries, 5 on this side, 10 on this side, there's 15. You could have 40 eggs. And the quick version is one wins and the rest go away. And they don't go away for next month.
Right.
They're done.
They're done.
So you're not using up your fertility when you help somebody. And you would, so you still will have just as many eggs when it's time for you to conceive. And, you know, there's, so from when you're picked to when you do a donation is about 3 months. And there are contracts. We supply you with a lawyer that the intended parents pay for. And your health as an egg donor is of the utmost importance. So we take that into consideration.
I want to ask this question. What was the most rewarding part in this journey for you?
Every time, there's 2 moments in a pregnancy, and this is for everybody. It's not that one person it was more rewarding. The moment they get their positive pregnancy test, because they never, if you've struggled, even if you haven't struggled, it's felt like such a dream, and all of a sudden it's the reality.
Yep.
And then when I speak to them and their baby, they've had their baby in their arms. And it's just, it just brings back my own memories, and it's the moment the surrogate waits for and they wait for. And every time, and we have right now about 85 cases going. I have a pretty large staff. We're not a small agency. We're a well-established agency. And I mean, it's incredible. It's a beautiful thing, and it makes me grateful for my own children, because it reminds me of my struggles all the time too.
Oh, that is wonderful. That is wonderful. See how you turned something that might have been a tough situation into something great, not only for yourself but for others. Where can we find you and your agency? You're located in California, but
we work with intended parents all over the country, all over the world, and the same with the surrogates all in the country.
So what's your contact info?
www.surrogacysolutionsinc.com.
Oh, wonderful. Wow. I want to thank you. I want to thank you for sharing your story, because your story is going to motivate others. I call it the shattered glass impact. Yeah.
I like that.
It's a good thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
For being on the Dr. Joy Show, Kathyrn.
Sure.
Until next time, you guys. All right, you have our information. If you want to be an egg donor, if you want to be a surrogate, or if you are an intended parent, contact Kathyrn Kaycoff. She can help you. Okay, until next time, be blessed, stay healthy. See ya!